Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sheryl McCumsey, founder of Pesticide Free Alberta. Welcome back to the show, Sheryl.
Hello, Jim.
Sheryl, you said there could be a link between pesticides and depression. What kind of studies have you seen?
Well, certainly there's studies showing higher rates of depression in farmers, and they're certainly exposed to pesticides more directly than the general population. As well, glyphosate, which is the most widely used herbicide in Canada, and we've increased this herbicide dramatically in the last 5 to 15 years. That's illustrated in documents from government. And it's also shown that we have higher rates of this in our food system than we've ever had before. In some foods, even higher than what they consider acceptable limits. But glyphosate, as you probably remember in previous talks, is a very strong chelator, meaning it holds on to minerals like magnesium, calcium, zinc, iron, etc. While magnesium is a rather common deficiency seen in Canadians, and there's a study that shows giving magnesium supplements to people who are depressed is being a very effective tool for treating depression. So if you have a herbicide that's going to impact our availability to this mineral in our food system, which it certainly is going to do, and then you see high levels of this deficiency in the general public, and then you see studies showing that it's an effective tool for treating depression, well, you have to ask yourself how well that would work to just treat depression, for example, with magnesium is something I think people should be considering, but also how our food could be impacting our vulnerability to depression.
If there's this link, what I'm always surprised at is how little our politicians seem to think that this kind of information is important to us and how little action they take on it.
Yes, I think there's a real problem in the system. So, for example, the lobbying that goes on is incredible. If you look at one pesticide, for example, and the amount of times lobbying goes on with, take, for example, chlorpyrifos, which is about to be reassessed in the next couple of days. How many people have even heard of this pesticide? How many scientists are studying its harm? How many people are looking at alternatives? And if you look at our universities, for example, how many universities have a program to teach organic agriculture? So you don't have a system set up that's going to lobby for doing something else other than using pesticides. And you don't have people studying much in regards to human health and how pesticides are impacting that, as opposed to agrochemical companies which are selling their products, and they're very aggressive about how they lobby. So we have lobbying, and we have how they're assessed, which relies very heavily on industry's science. And we talk about conflicts of interest, but certainly conflicts of interest are huge in regards to pesticides. So we have industry providing the science used to register these products. So the whole system is kind of set up. It's skewed to support agrochemical companies as opposed to other ways of doing things. So it's really going to have to come from the general public, and it's very hard for the general public to even know this is going on in the background.
Is there a way to get our politicians to pay more attention to this?
Well, again, I think it's really going to have to come a lot from the general public, saying that, you know, we're concerned about what we're seeing happening to human health. in Canada. I mean, we know the cancer organizations are saying that every second Canadian, pretty much every second Canadian is going to develop cancer. And we look at treatment for cancer, but why are we not focusing more on prevention? I mean, we all know that smoking is harmful to human health, and it took 4 decades for that to be accepted. I wonder how long it's going to take for pesticides to be accepted in the same manner. It's pretty clear, there's enough study on this, that this impacts human health in a variety of ways. It's pretty clear that we're using more pesticides than ever before. And I don't think people realize how much is out there. So if the media is not reporting it enough, or people are not getting it enough, then there just is not enough opposition to the lobbying that goes on to continue to go in the wrong direction. Neonics, for example, are used by greenhouses, and they're coated on the seeds of many crops, canola, for example, and this pesticide is expressed in the plant 24/7, all the time, whether or not it's needed or not. And there's plenty of science to now indicate that this does not increase yields. But farmers are not hearing that either, because they're lobbied to as well. So where is it going to come from? It's going to have to come from us. It's going to have to come from us speaking loudly, saying we're concerned about the impacts on the environment because we need insects to survive, to live. We need them. And we also cannot have a health system that will sustain the sicknesses and the illnesses we're seeing. We're not preventing them. We're trying to treat them. And we just won't be able to maintain that.
We'll have more with Sheryl McCumsey right after the break.
I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
Grand Portage Resources' Herbert Gold Project in southeast Alaska highlights increased gold resource, indicated and inferred, of 860,000 ounces, in excess of 10 grams per ton gold. Expansion drilling is planned on the Herbert Gold property for the summer of 2019. Grand Portage Resources trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sheryl McCumsey. Sheryl, I think the forest fires in Brazil's rainforest might have the planet thinking about how important diversity it is when it comes to species. What kind of impact are pesticides having on diversity of species?
Well, it's huge, and there's some remarkable things happening all around the world. I was just watching a video this morning that came from New Zealand showing how a man had taken some land that had been used for agriculture and transformed this into a reserve area. But basically, he did nothing to that area. He kind of let it take its own course. So in the beginning, they saw invasive weeds taking over. And instead of spraying or addressing it, as plants progressed through the succession of bigger plants that started to take over. Some of these invasive species were actually doing some things that were good for the soil, providing nitrogen to the soil, for example. And as these other plants took over, the invasive species died out because they could not survive being sheltered away from the sun. So by witnessing and watching and taking in what happens to the succession of plants in a natural system, we learn a lot. But we've kind of gotten away from that. So in Canada, most of our forestry areas are sprayed with herbicide. They're clear-cut, first of all, which is also very harmful. And then we spray herbicide to allow one kind of plant to grow, conifer plants, So they're very susceptible to fire. They're much more flammable. They actually are not as good as far as carbon sinks go. They're much less useful that way. Aspen are hundreds of times better. So it's interesting because people who are fighting these fires can see how fires move around trees, that like aspen trees, they don't burn as easy, or if they don't burn at all. And in the same film, this is in New Zealand, they showed a fire that had happened and how upset everybody was and how they were trying to put these fires out. And then they witnessed how the fire literally stopped burning because of the diversity in that forest. So this is a worldwide issue. It's a local issue. I mean, if you're living in an area where you have one kind of tree growing, you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems with insects consuming those plants because there's no diversity there. There's no birds to eat the insects that might be preying on those trees. It's all about diversity, and pesticides always take out diversity. They always are going to change the ecosystem and that they damage diversity. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that happening on such extents that it's quite dramatic. Like there's a scientist in the U.S. that says agricultural lands are 48 times more toxic to insects than they were 25 years ago. And so she talks about all the things that we should be doing to turn that around. It can be turned around, I think. I hope it's not too late, but just stop using pesticides, for example, on your own property and eating organic foods and planting varieties of native plants and insect-friendly plants in our garden. And our attitudes towards insects as being bad and killing them at every opportunity just needs to change. We need insects, not just for pollination, but to actually convert plant material into soil. This is huge, and it's worldwide. So I really think it's our attitudes about our environment and ecosystems and pesticides and how they work has to change.
We'll have more with Sheryl McCumsey right after the break.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sheryl McCumsey. Sheryl, are we seeing spikes in cancer and other disease rates that could be connected to all these extra chemicals they're throwing into our food, soil, and air?
Absolutely. Anything that has impact on our endocrine system is going to be related to cancer rates, and we are seeing increases of cancer. What's really interesting is that in general, fewer people are smoking tobacco. But we have a number of carcinogens in our environment, and we have a multitude of carcinogens in our environment. So although I focus on pesticides, there are certainly things that we use within our home, for cleaning our home, for cleaning our clothes, for all kinds of carcinogens in our environment that we just need to reduce the toxic load to ourselves and to our environment. But there are several pesticides that are known as carcinogens, and the World Health Organization has declared several pesticides as being probable carcinogens or at risk. So those are the active ingredients as well. They're not the formulations that we're actually exposed to. Formulations are the products that we actually use that have additives in them that are not even often declared. They're considered proprietary, but they increase toxicity. It's shown in studies that they increase toxicity. So do we want to keep waiting to see what happens when we see, the Canadian Digestive Health Foundation has stated that about 20 million Canadians are suffering some kind of gut disease. That's unbelievable. And that's increased in the last 10 years from 10 million. So I would think it's probably what we're putting in our stomachs that's impacting our health. We have 9,500 Canadians that die of colorectal cancer every year. It's a pretty horrible way to die. And we're seeing this disease. We're seeing IBD and these kinds of bowel diseases in very young children, as young as 5.
I'm wondering, should we have better labeling regulations and laws in this country?
Well, it's been done several times, polled several times to the public that the public would like genetically engineered products to be labeled. And there's very specific concerns with this technology that's not really tested as what the long-term effects will be on human health, and there certainly is concerns with them. So I know that the general public, as being polled, about 80 to 90% of the general public want genetically engineered products to be labeled. But there's many things going on in Canada that most people have no knowledge of, like there's products that use nanotechnology that's not very properly assessed either. So there's a problem with the system, the way things are assessed. So I don't know that labeling will be enough. It's really hard to know how you would approach this. What we have right now is, organic versus everything else, or non-GMO versus everything else. But there's still other things out there that are concerning, that's not just in our food system, but in our household products that are not even tested. I mean, for example, dry shampoo. The first few ingredients of dry shampoo is basically lighter fluid. Pretty appalling when you actually look at the labels of things and you start looking at what's in there. But how many people are thinking that when their teenager buys a bottle of dry shampoo that this has got lighter fluid in it, and that maybe we don't want to be using that? People should be a little concerned about why our government has not been properly assessing products before they get onto the shelves. Personally, I'm very upset that I pay taxes to my government, and I expect that what I buy would be safe to use, and I'm finding that's not really the case at all.
Cheryl, anything else you wanted to bring up today?
That I think people should try to start appreciating diversity, and that some of the things that we don't like, that before you decide that you want to eradicate it, to get rid of it, to think about what you're actually doing, because a lot of the pesticides that we use to kill certain insects are actually more harmful to the beneficial insects, and some of them are harmful to the predators to that pest, for example. And that certainly is the case with neonicotinoids, and most people don't even know where that is. So what we buy, that's if we have no time to do anything else, try to be conscious of what you're buying. And if you have any extra time, do some research and start lobbying to our government and say, look, we need better than what we have right now. We need to start looking at how much industry is lobbying to government and start turning the ship the other way.
Cheryl, thank you so much for chatting with us.
You're welcome, Jim.
My guest has been Sheryl McCumsey, founder of Pesticide Free Alberta. Cheryl, are there any emails or websites people can go to get more information?
Yes, we have couple of Facebook pages, Pesticide Free Alberta, Pesticide Free Canada, and we have an email, pesticidefree4canada@gmail.com.
Cheryl, thanks again.
Thank you, Jim.
If you have any questions for Cheryl or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Find us on Twitter at Talk Digital Net. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at talkdigitalnetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.